is Joseph Sillow Jr. I am the writer of When the Wood is Dry, an edgy Catholic thriller. My new book. It's edgy, it's Catholic, and it's thrilling. Okay? So welcome to edgycatholic.com, my little broadcast here. I would like to talk to you today about part 2 of my Writer's Malpractice series for Game of Thrones. This is the conclusion of Game of Thrones. I have a solution that would be more edgy and more Catholic, which means they probably would never make it this way, but you be the judge, okay? So, in my last video, I talked about the problems with the ending of the last season for the Game of Thrones. They've kind of abandoned a lot of the rules of the series and just wrapped it up in a way that just was unsatisfying. So let's talk about a better ending. So you need to be familiar with the series, okay? If you haven't watched it, don't watch this video. Because I can't fill you in on 8 seasons of this show. Okay? So anyway, if you remember, in the final season, the Lannisters have been advised that the dead are coming, winter has come, and the Night King is coming with the dead, and they're attacking the living. And it's really a fight for survival of mankind, basically, for the whole thing. You're either going to die and be part of the dead army, or you're going to destroy the dead army and live, okay? The stakes are about as high as they can get. Even in the Game of Thrones, they've always been high. But the Lannisters decide, hey, we're going to sit this one out. We'll let you take care of the army of the dead, and then we'll whatever's left of you, we'll manage afterward. And then I'm Cersei Lannister. I get to stay sitting on the throne, right? So the thing is, the solution that they had for this in the show was, oh yeah, I guess that's the way it is. So let's go fight the dead. Now, that's not a good Game of Thrones kind of attitude, okay? So let's come up with a better solution for that that's a little edgier, all right? So how about if Jon Snow says, well, if the Lannisters will not come to the war will come to the Lannisters. Now, how do you do this? We actually use Bran as bait. Now, they said they were going to use Bran as bait, but they didn't really use him as bait. That's one of the writer Malpractice's problems. They said they were going to use him as bait, and then they had him with Theon and a few people with, a few archers, and they really didn't have a plan to capture the Night King when he went after Bran. They just kind of let him have the bait. And then, by luck, Arya came and saved the day. I don't mind having Arya save the day, but you have to have a sensible strategy that fails, and then Arya saves the day. That would be good writing. Not what they did, which was, we'll have a really stupid plan, and and then Arya will save the day. Okay, so let's say Jon says we're going to take the war to them. We're going to use Bran as bait. So we're going to send Bran on a boat. We're going to send him around back into Blackwater Bay, which is south of King's Landing. Now you have a big land-based army of the dead. I'm assuming they have trouble with water. I don't think they run boats. I don't think they know how to do that, right? You have a gigantic wall that runs to the sea and then stops. So if the dead could swim, they would swim around the wall. It wouldn't be much of a successful barrier, right? So we're assuming they have trouble with water. Now, what if Jon Snow says, well, we're not going to sit here in Winterfell, where this is right in the road for them to get down to King's Landing. I mean, the King's Road goes right up from Winterfell down to King's Landing. That is the most logical route for the dead army to take, right? So let's get out of the way and let them go down to King's Landing. Bring the Lannisters into the war with the dead. Now, you can take Jon's army. There's a place on the map called Hornwood. Go over there. It's surrounded by rivers, pretty much surrounded. It's not completely surrounded, but the access is limited because there's more rivers around it, so the dead probably wouldn't want to go there. You can blow the bridges or guard them successfully and have them rigged to burn or whatever so that they can't get across if they try. And that would allow the army of the dead a clean route to march all the way down to King's Landing. Now, John's a nice guy, right? So he's going to want to send people ahead, warn the people to stay off of King's Road because the dead army is coming. Go east, go west, get away from that road because they're going to be marching right down there going to King's Landing. Now, that would be kind of a strategy that would be worthy of the Game of Thrones. Now, you could have Sansa saying something to Jon like, "But Jon, this is our home. We must defend Winterfell." And Jon can say something like, Sansa, the dead, they don't care about castles. They care about making more dead and getting Bran. So why should we be defending Winterfell, which is right in their way? It doesn't make any sense. Now this would be a calculation that would be worthy of the kind of writing that the Game of Thrones has had up to this point, where you had very sensible battle strategy. And the strategy at Winterfell was totally lacking. But then again, Jon probably is not that great of a strategist because he was pretty much losing that battle with Ramsay Bolton, right? Until he got bailed out by Littlefinger, all right? So that's just some history of the show. So it is in Jon's character to have a really crappy battle plan. It's not so much in, Tyrion has had successful battle plans, and Daenerys has gone along with them, and maybe she can come up with something on her own. But Jon is, he's a brute force kind of stand right there and die kind of guy. All right. So anyway, that would be a more worthy strategy. So you can have this thing go wrong, because you have to have it go wrong, right? If things go right to plan, it's not much of a story. So you have this great plan, and you're sending Bran on this boat, and he's going around there, but you've got that guy, that Greyjoy, Euron Greyjoy, who's now sleeping with Queen Cersei, and he's pretty good with boats. So you have to have a confrontation with your boat there, and you also have a Night King who has a dragon of his own, so he could fly if Bran is just floating around on a boat, and that would be a problem. So you have to send one of the dragons as air cover for him. So you could still have Euron Greyjoy shoot down the dragon and show the scorpion as a really effective weapon against dragons. Now, one of the things they did in this show, which is part of their malpractice, was they showed this weapon, the scorpion, to be terribly effective against dragons. They shot one down with ease and nearly shot down the other one. And they were able to sink boats. They wreak havoc with this weapon. And then in the next episode, the weapon was totally useless. It didn't do anything. It wasn't a threat at all. So the dragon just burned them all up, and you had Cersei saying, "Oh, all we need is one lucky shot." Well, in the previous episode, you didn't need a lucky shot. The thing was really good, right? So you need a strategy to overcome that weapon. That's another issue. So you could have a strategy where the dragon has to fly in from at a high altitude, because the radius of a shot for that thing, if you look at it, it was, they didn't have much motion. It wasn't 360 degrees. It wasn't easy to aim. So you could have the dragon fly in at a high altitude where it's out of reach, and kind of dive bomb down where they can't get an angle to shoot it, and the dragon could, then take it out with a sensible plan. But you have to talk about that strategy for defeating these things, right? And then it would work. Now, the thing is you would be vulnerable if you're attacking one of these things to be shot by another one that might have an angle. So that's another twist that you can have where they actually get a good shot at them because they can turn them around. Now, at King's Landing, those things are set up to shoot away from the castle. So it would be very difficult. They would have to maneuver that thing around to get a shot at the dragon while he's dive bombing it. But you could do it. And you could even have the dragon get wounded a little bit or something closer so that it was a little bit more dangerous. All right, so that would be kind of a better way to have this standoff with Cersei with this thing. Now, I was talking a bit about Euron Greyjoy shooting down the dragon. Well, he could actually capture Bran. That's another way that the plan can go wrong. So Cersei could pull the Bran right into King's Landing and have him there, and he could be doing his three-eyed raven thing, and she could figure out, hey, maybe this isn't so great because this is where the Night King is coming, right? And then she has to figure out what to do with him, and there's some details she'd have to work out about how to do that. But you can make a good strategy around that and a more interesting dramatic show, right? So you can also have Arya down there because the Night King is going to come for Bran. So you want Arya. The idea of having Arya kill the Night King is still a good idea, but you would have to. You could have her go with Bran and be kind of his bodyguard. It would make some sense, right? On this special mission to get Bran into Blackwater Bay. Okay. So, Cersei's end in the regular show with the roof collapsing on her with her and Jaime, that was lame. That was lame. You need a standoff between Cersei and Daenerys, okay? You need, I would say you want to get Cersei captured so that you can have her facing judgment. So you have, Dany, with this strategy taking out the Scorpions, you have her taking out much of the Lannister army with her dragons. I wouldn't have her attacking civilians because it's not in her character to do that. That was kind of a lame thing. But you could actually have her go mad. But you need to set it up more. Okay? So Daenerys in the early episodes had this crazy brother. And he was like, I have the dragon blood. And he was, being all haughty. Well, you could have that image of that guy, haunting Daenerys and goading her into doing things to exert power and use the dragon to burn people up or whatever else to put your enemies under your feet kind of thing, right? That could be the demon that's afflicting her, that's driving her kind of mad. And she could be going much more crazy because you could show that, those inner voices. That they showed a little bit of inner voices kind of taunting her, but not nearly enough if you want to make the case that she's going mad. I know they like to have surprises, but you got to set that up. Now, she has an inner battle that she may win, and she may, put the demons aside and not, fall, but maybe she falls, right? So at the end, what we really want, right, is Daenerys to be like her father, the Mad King, who his last words were, burn them all, burn them all. That you want to echo that back. If you're writing this thing and you want her to be going crazy, that's the kind of crazy you want, right? Not just riding on a dragon killing a bunch of civilians, which didn't really fit her character, but killing her enemies, okay? So you would have to, just build that up a little bit better. So now, you could have, you could have Jon trying to talk sense to her too, right? Because Daenerys has this thing about saying, you want to take something away from me, right? She's getting defensive, right? And Jon could say something like, I don't want to take anything away from you. I pledged my fealty. My word is good. I'm Mr. Honorable, right? That's Jon's character. And I'm renouncing my claim to the throne, but I am the rightful heir. So if I did do that, I wouldn't be taking anything away from you, right? It's mine. I'm giving it to you, right? That kind of thing. But she's crazy, so she might say something like, well, you may be the rightful heir, but I'm the mother of dragon. And which counts for more, right? And in the Game of Thrones, being the mother of dragons trumps being the true heir. I mean, being the true heir puts a target on your back, man. It makes you the one that everybody wants to assassinate. Being the mother of dragons means you've got the power to do the assassinating. it's a much better position to be in. So this would set up a Judgment Day episode at the end, okay? So you could have Daenerys, and she's lining up the people like she did in a previous episode, right? So it calls back again to a previous episode when the Tarleys wouldn't bend the knee and she burned them up with the dragon, right? So the first thing she does is she takes Cersei Lannister and condemns her to death for being a usurper of the throne, right? And burn her up with dragon fire. Everybody would be kind of cheering that one, or some people would. Cersei was not a popular character, I don't think. Then you take Jaime. Well, Jaime's got a little bit more sympathy than Cersei, but he treacherously went and escaped and went to fight with the Lannisters, so you condemn him with fire, burn him up. Well, now you've got the next Lannister, Tyrion Lannister, right? Tyrion Lannister, I mean, he's been double dealing, and he's guilty of treason. So, you know, Daenerys, now that she's in the position of the queen, yeah, we had good times together there, Tyrion, but, you know, you betrayed me, and this is the penalty. So you have Tyrion burned up with dragonfire. Now that would surprise some people and maybe upset them, but you know what? It is the Game of Thrones. You win or you die, and Tyrion is losing, and it's the last episode. So it's not like he's missing out on any more shows, because this is it. So we got the Game of Thrones. It's kind of a tournament, and the last one standing is going to be the winner. Well, now, you know, you could show some people getting a little edgy now, like, oh, you know, this is kind of getting out of hand. She's burning up an old friend, right? So the next thing she does is she pulls Sansa Stark up. Now, Sansa's treachery, you know, was really to Jon. She betrayed Jon by vowing not to blab and open her mouth, and she opened her mouth about a secret, which caused Daenerys all kinds of trouble. But it really wasn't something, you know, it's something Jon would have to mete out justice for if he wanted to. Jon's not going to do anything to Sansa, right? But what Dany has a thing about, you know, bending the knee. So, and the North has a thing about not wanting to bend the knee, and in particular Sansa. So you could have Sansa making her stand here and saying, you know, have Daenerys say, "Do you bend the knee, Queen of the North," or whatever she wants, called Lady of Winterfell, whatever her title is at that point, and have Sansa say, "The North will never bend the knee to a southern sovereign again. For thousands of years, the North has been free," and let her do a little speech. And of course, you know, there's Daenerys saying Draconis and burn up Sansa Stark. Now you've eliminated another one of the big characters, right? We're getting down to only a few left. Well, Arya Stark is a trained assassin, and she's really good at assassinating people. She sees her sister being burned up with dragon fire. Okay? So she goes now and does her assassin move and kills Daenerys. So she slits her throat or something. But Daenerys, in her last words, says, burn them all, like her father, the Mad King. Only her father didn't have a dragon. So this burn them all thing is taken as a command by the dragon, and the dragon starts burning them all, starting with Arya Stark. Okay? I know Arya is a popular character, but this is the Game of Thrones, man. We kill popular characters, right? So Arya gets burned up. Jon is looking at this going, holy cow, but you know, that's not the end of it. The dragon's gone nuts. It's going berserk. It's killing everybody, right? So it's killing the remainder of the Lannister army. It's killing the people, Grey Worm and his Unsullied. It's killing the Northmen. It's killing everybody. But Jon, you know, because he's Jon, he's going to see Bran, you know, who's crippled, and he's going to try to save Bran. So he saves Bran. He brings him to someplace safe. And now Bran is the three-eyed raven. He's a prophet character. So Bran says to Jon, Jon, you've been the bastard of Winterfell. You've been a ranger beyond the wall with the wildlings. You've been commander of the Night's Watch. You've been to the netherworld and resurrected. And you've been king of the North. Now, be who you were meant to be, the Dragon King. Control your dragon, or slay your dragon, before you have no realm to be king of, before there's nothing left of your kingdom. So now John musters his courage, and he goes and he confronts the dragon. And yet, you write a nice speech for John. So he's talking to the dragon, and he says, "I am Aegon Targaryen, the true heir of the Iron Throne, and I command you, dragon, to yield." Something like that. Okay? So, he's talking to a dragon. The dragon's kind of pissed off, right? Because she just saw her mother killed, murdered by John's sister. So, the dragon says, "I've had enough of that," and breathes fire at John. I know what you're thinking. I just killed off everybody, and now the dragon wins. Well, that's a possible solution, but I got a better one. John has the blood of the dragon. He's a true Targaryen. He can't be killed by fire. So the dragon, he survives the breathing of the dragon on him, and everybody's looking at this and sees, wow, the dragon just freaking blew fire at this guy, and he's surviving it. Now John is a little annoyed with the dragon, so John takes out his sword and he slays the dragon. You can have him stab the dragon in the heart, cut off its head, whatever. A nice scene of slaying a dragon, right? Pretty dramatic, okay? And John says when he slays the dragon, the world has had enough of dragons. It's time for something new. So now you have John as the last character remaining in the tournament, right? He is the returning, resurrected king. And that idea, the returning, resurrected king, is one of our edgy Catholic types, okay? So it's a Christ-like character of the returning king who's been resurrected. And that will make this into an edgy Catholic ending. Now, at the end of this, he slayed the dragon, he's going to make all things new, right? So now you have to make some nice speech about how in this new world, justice will be the virtue, not power. The strong will defend the weak, and whatever else. Just make a nice goody two-shoes kind of speech that's very different from what you've heard in the Game of Thrones all season, where it's been just, if you got the power, take the power and do what you want, right? And then you can have people scoffing about it, right? So that's part of the show, right? But you can still have him, trying to be a Mr. Virtuous King. I don't know, if you want to have somebody backstab him at the end, you could probably do that too and make it a Game of Thrones thing, if you want to have some kind of surprise ending at the end. So that would be my more edgy Catholic ending for the Game of Thrones series. I think it would have been edgier, it would have been more dramatic, and it would have been more satisfying, and there would have been some shock value in seeing those characters who you love being burned up with dragon fire and the dragon going crazy. You would have a really dramatic ending instead of having just this committee decide that, hey, we think we got to go with the lame kid because, well, he has the best story. I don't think he had the best story. It was even a lousy reason. I mean, I think John had the better story, right? But anyway, that's my solution, the edgy Catholic ending to the Game of Thrones. Again, my name is Joseph Solo Jr. I am the author of When the Wood is Dry, an edgy Catholic thriller. You should check it out. You can get part 1 for free on Amazon.com, the Kindle ebook for free, or the ebook is free on a number of other places like iBooks and Barnes & Noble, So you can get it for free. You read the first part. It's the first third of the book. And then you can decide whether you want to keep reading. But I think you will find it edgy and Catholic and thrilling. So again, this is Joseph Solo Jr. I'm signing off now for edgycatholic.com and concluding my edgy Catholic solution to the Game of Thrones final season. I thank you very much, and I wish you all well.